history. To many, it's the ultimate racing challenge.
Hello there and welcome to Blancpain GT Series Asia. My name is Claire Jedrick and we're here for rounds 5 and 6 at the Suzuka circuit. With me now is race commentator Bruce Jones. Bruce, let's talk about yesterday's brilliant race. We had 6 manufacturers that were in the top spot. And that really was a big surprise, especially with, all the talk about Porsches being slow, not being competitive in that line.
Yeah, it was a real mix. We had big concern before the race that tyres were just going to be destroyed during the race, but the drivers really showed their class. They kept on top of them, and Porsche in particular, they were praying for rain. They thought that was their only hope, yet they had the best result of the season by an enormous margin, second place. But let's talk about another element, success penalties. If you come first in a race, you have 15 seconds at a standstill extra on your pit stop, 10 seconds for second and 5 for third, and that affected the car that led the race early on yesterday, the Lamborghini of Godrich and Lind, and today they've only got a 5-second penalty. I think they're the dark horses for the race.
Well, let's talk about the GT4s as well. Mercedes have been so dominant, and right now the BMWs yesterday, the 2 Japanese brothers, they actually took the top spot.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. They've showed flashes of speed through the first two rounds of the year in Sepang and then in Chang International, but here they really came good. But where's the best place to deliver? On home ground. They had a lot of fans, hugely excited, and the BMW's first and third in GT4, so it's not all about Mercedes, that's for sure.
So what are we hoping for today with the time penalties?
It's going to be a big mix, and of course the drivers that started yesterday, they go second today, so look out for Raffaele Marciello, because he had a 15-second extra penalty on his pit stop because his car was the winner in Thailand, and he forged his way up from the back, but he's starting very near the front. I expect him to go into the lead of this race. That's the sort of guy he is.
Right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Bruce. And right now we're going to throw it to the highlight, which was my lap around this amazing circuit, Suzuka. And we're in Group M Racing Garage, and the Mercedes have been very dominant this series. Well, it's Mercedes AMG that have given me the keys to go testing on Suzuka. Oh, this is a very special moment. I get to go out on the Suzuka circuit. I'm going to make a lot of people very, very jealous. Going into T1 here, just touch this apex, go all the way out. Just feel the grip coming in here. We're going to be entering the S-curve. This is where it gets very flowy. So much gradient on the circuit. They say it's a Spa-Francorchamps of Asia. So somebody out on the circuit, take that easy. And this goes all the way up. Let's touch these strips over there. Put my foot down just a little bit more and then brake. Oh, I can feel the traction control on that one. Woo! I can feel the car being sucked out. I tell you, even driving this on auto is absolutely amazing. Put my foot down, I got 215 there. I can feel the car twitching. Epic moment, a moment that I've been waiting for. Whew. I tell you what, I definitely broke a sweat there, even though it wasn't really pulling the gears that much. And there's nothing that beats being out on that circuit, even though I've been on the simulators. And I tell you, it's a lot trickier than actually being on the simulators. There's no reset button over here, but excellent time, and I won't forget this. Now, as you've seen, I got that opportunity yesterday to drive on the Suzuka circuit. An exhilarating ride and made a lot of people jealous right there. Right now, let's take a look at some of the highlights of yesterday's race for round 5.
It was a busy grid at the start of the race, as you would expect. People getting down to take a look at the cars. 31 cars coming out to play, the biggest grid in the second championship. It looks as though it was absolutely even down to the first corner. Martin Rump on the Audi on the inside, Dennis Linton, his Lamborghini on the outside, who clearly went around the outside. You'd have thought Martin Rump would have been able to hang on, but that Lamborghini braked so late, swept around the corner on the outside, able to tuck into the front at turn 2, and then gradually started edging clear over the opening laps. But then Martin Rump came on strong and started coming back onto his tail. It got down to a fraction of a second. Chasing along behind, Shane Davis moved up into third place, looking really good in the 911 Porsche. The 81 BMW leading the way, but I think there'd been a little setback for the 666 Mercedes. It fell to fourth in the GT4 class before it started its charge. Started coming back through the field with young Japanese former Formula 3 racer Ruichiro Suzuka at the wheel, but he certainly looked very handy indeed. And here was a continuation of the charge. Martin Rump in second place, chasing after Dennis Lind, as you can see, getting super close. But then what happened? They came up on the traffic, and certainly the race leader was rather more effective through that when they came to these gaggles of GT3 cars. You can see Dennis Lind cutting his way through, and unfortunately the back of the pack, and they're getting caught behind not 1, 2, but 3 GT4 cars. Suddenly the gap went from a second to 4 seconds for Martin Rump, and then it came up to the pit stops. But while most of the teams were nice and tidy with their pit stops, there was a further problem for the 19 car, the race leader, because they had to have an extra 10 seconds at a standstill due to their success in previous rounds, and that meant they'd come out down in effectively third place overall. Their pit stop was a little messy too, as they clattered their stopping board. For most of the field, though, it's a question of driver out, driver in. The 666 car was handed over from Otsuku. And now here's the messy pit stop for the race leader. The team behind Porsche pulled out in front of it and then braked slightly later. Didn't matter, hit the pit board and came out onto the circuit right in the thick of the traffic. The 19 car in the real mix, and after the pit stops it was Frankie Chen Kong Fu who came out in the lead of the race, and he's been chased by Sandy Stuvik. Stuvik got very close indeed, challenged around the outside, but it wasn't to work, and after that Frankie Chen Kong Fu got his head down, took a tenth of a second here, a tenth of a second here, and eventually got a 1.5 second lead, and that looked very good indeed, because the 991 Porsche was pushing, but really wasn't expected to haul that back in. Indeed, he didn't. In the GT4 class, it was 81 BMW all the way, with Ducatsu bringing it home. One, it looks a little bit loose there as it comes down to the first corner of the circuit. He got ahead of the 666 Mercedes, or it was in the first into the race, and he simply stayed there, much as Frankie Chen Kong Fu did in that number 3 Absolute Racing Audi. Stroked it home towards the end of the race. The challenge from Sandy Stuvik was expended, it was all used up. He did come closer to the tail of the car, but really for Frankie Chen Kong Fu, as he swept through the last corner for the final time, you can see the checkered flag. He backed off 0.8 of a second between first and second. 2 very happy crews, but still lights flashing on the 19 Lamborghini, because Martin Kontrich managed to overcome that 10-second penalty in the pits and bring it home in third place for yet more championship points. So it's a hot morning here at Suzuka, not as humid as yesterday, but look at that blue sky. We had the possibility of rain for yesterday afternoon's race, but here on race Sunday at Suzuka, conditions are very good indeed. It's hot, again, it's humid. But the cars were assembled out on the grid, 31 cars. This is our largest race entry in the second series, the Blancpain GT Series Asia. And the activity on the grid is already starting to hot up. 23 cars in the GT3 class and 8 cars in GT4 as that category, the subcategory, continues to grow and grow. But a chance for all these drivers. Japanese drivers have come out in force. 18 of the 62 drivers in this weekend's event are homegrown, enjoying the advantage of their experience around the circuit here. And for a lot of the international drivers, it's their first or possibly only their second visit, and what they crave is as much track time as possible. It's such a technical circuit, and it's such a long lap as well. The chance of getting a clean lap the whole way round without a little slip or a slide, absolutely minimal. But let's head down to the grid because it's very busy indeed. It's great to see all the cars sitting there. Conditions looking
Absolutely spot on, and a huge amount of fans and VIPs down taking a look at the cars, wishing their drivers luck. And for quite a number of the drivers and teams, they're going to be back here at the end of August to have a tilt at the 100 million yen prize fund for the Suzuka 10 hours around the Intercontinental GT Challenge. Not just the Japanese team stepping up for that, but some of the international crews as well will be coming back to add the experience they've gained here to the mix in that 10-hour extravaganza. But right now we've got... the cars aren't 2x2, but if you're a Ferrari fan, the Ferraris have really did well in qualifying session number 2, and they fill the front row. Both the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari 488 GT3s on row number 1. And, of course, just reiterating the fact that it's a two-driver lineup, and the drivers who started yesterday are going second today. The drivers who start today are the ones who took those qualifying positions. So for Nick Foster and Tim Slade, his fellow Australian, they are the stronger drivers in their pairings, but the difference is that Nick Foster on pole position will be handing over to a fellow pro racer in Yi Hong Lee, whereas Maurice Chen is an AM driver, so don't expect the same pace for him. You'd have to say, trying to pick those Ferraris, you'd look for the number 27 car to be strong throughout this 1 hour race. But in behind is Raffaele Marciello starting third with the 888 Mercedes. He's sharing with Alexander Matschel. Again, it's a Pro-Am driver lineup, but really expect Raffaele to be very, very strong in the opening laps of the race. But again, yesterday we had 6 manufacturers filling the top 6 positions, and which is absolutely phenomenal and testament to the balance of performance equations worked out by the SRO. But today we have 2 Ferraris on the front row, 1 Mercedes, then 2 Lamborghinis, another Mercedes, and the best of the Audis down in 7th place. And yesterday's race-winning car, Martin Rump started that yesterday, but it's Frankie Cheng, and Frankie didn't get the best of qualifying. They're starting back in 12th position overall. But one of the drivers who's joined the championship just for this round, and he should do the rest of the season, he's down on the grid. He's with KCMG. He's a Swiss racer. He has a lot of experience here in the Far East. Let's hear from Alexander Imperatori.
Right now, I've got car 18, Alex Imperatori, first in class, 6 overall. Tell us a little bit about your pace. Were you surprised about where you ended up yesterday?
No, I don't think it was a surprise. I have to say my teammate did a really good job to get us in the top 10 in his stint. That really set us up for a good race. And then I took over the car, had a few battles on track. It was really fun, and I think the car is performing really well. So we had a good car underneath us, and let's try to go forward today again.
Well, being the pro driver, were there a couple of things that you had to clean up with him for his drive today?
Well, it's always a work in progress. We try to bring the AM forward to help him pick up the pace, but he's doing a really good job. So we, of course, identified a few things on daytime video that we can always do better, and hopefully we'll have a great race today again.
Who's your biggest competitor out here? I see you around. There's so many of the different manufacturers. How well is your car going to do on the Suzuka circuit?
Well, every manufacturer have their own strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, in the front, everything is really tightly packed. It's really hard to overtake around here, so we'll see. For sure, first corner will be important.
Perfect. Thank you. Good luck, Alex.
Sorry, he may be Swiss, but he's done a lot of his racing in the Far East, competed in the Japanese Formula 3 Championship, so this is a circuit he knows very well. So in the early laps in particular, look for Alex really trying to make a bit of a charge. He's starting 8th, but that Nissan in his hands is really starting to come to life, and also he has no success penalties, so his pit stop will be the minimum amount of time that they all have to adhere to, not added to with the 15 seconds that yesterday's winners will have to cope with. They're starting 2 rows behind him, though, so they're not really in that bit of the mix. And again, the essence of this championship is the fact that you have the mix of the drivers starting race 1, go second in race 2, and it's a big stirring of the pot. So yes, Ferrari have come out on top after qualifying, but to have yesterday's winning car starting 12th, the car that came home second, the 911 Porsche from Craft Bamboo Racing, starting 10th, and yesterday's third place car starting down in 5th, just shows the mix. But you have pros, you have pro-ams, you have AM lineups, then you have the GT4s. And we've just talked to Sandy Stuvik, and Claire's moved very quickly up the grid from the row behind Alexander Imperatori. Sandy Stuvik, Craft Bamboo Racing, and yesterday they were second, a huge result. Down with Claire.
Right now we're in the Porsche. Sandy Stuvik, who was driving along with Shay Davies yesterday, second on the podium. You do today have a +10 penalty. How do you think this is going to affect your overall standing today?
It's going to make it difficult, but we're going to continue the hard work that we've done throughout the whole weekend, and hopefully we get some good results today as well.
Well, the pressure is on to keep the pace up. How do you feel about that?
I feel good. We had a good car in the dry yesterday. Today is similar conditions, so I think we can expect a good pace as well.
Brilliant. Well, good luck, and we'll see you in the podium, hopefully.
Thank you, Claire. It's very good to hear a much more upbeat Sandy Stuvik. He really had hoped that the last round in his home nation, Chang International in Thailand, that good result will come there. It didn't. The Porsches weren't on the pace, but here at Suzuka they've surprised everybody, and not just good pace in qualifying generally, but good pace when it comes to the race as well. Yesterday we managed to get in 28 laps in the 1 hour. Let's see what we can do today. Not quite as hot and humid as yesterday. We're starting rather earlier in the day. Race will begin at 10:50, but for Martin Rump, he'll be watching from the sideline, just seeing his car. But his car in the hands of Frankie Chen Kong Fu, who brought it home, is back in 12th place on the grid. You have to say it's surely a mountain too hard for them to climb, especially with the extra 15 seconds during their pit stop. But you never know what's going to happen. Certainly Suzuka is a circuit where you can get very, very close. Overtaking is difficult. Even driving fast is difficult. It's such a technical circuit. But yes, what we saw yesterday, a lot of the cars getting very close. A little bit of bodywork damage from some of the runners when they just tried to move and it didn't come off. But one of the great things this weekend is we have a host of new cars racing in the championship. And this is one of 4 new cars for the championship from Japan. This is the Kizashi X Success Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Naoki Yokomizo starting, and then he'll hand over to Tomotsu Kondo. So expect some really quite strong form from him in the start of the race. He's very much the pro in that Pro-Am lineup, but great to see different liveries. Now the circuit broken down as ever into 3 sectors. It's a downhill dip to turns 1 and 2, then the track goes up through its blue section, up through those magnificent S's, and then the green sector is a short one, and it goes under the crossover. Very rare to have a track crossing over itself, and then up to the hairpin. You're in the light blue sector. The key corner to me is the one at the far end of the track. It's spoon curve. It's long. It coaxes you to try and complete it too soon, but if you get your exit right, you can carry that extra momentum all the way down the longest straight, through the very fast 130R, all the way up to the fiddly little chicane at the end of the lap. We visit 6 circuits for our 12 races in Blancpain GT Series Asia. Could not be more different. Just taking the first 3. Sepang, wide open Grand Prix circuit. Chang International, modern circuit, lots of different sorts of corners. Suzuka adds that wonderful ingredient. It has gradient to make its corners all the more difficult. Fuji Speedway, again, very different. That's in 3 weekends' time. And then ending the season with the Chinese doubleheader. Shanghai International Circuit, quite like Sepang. Again, designed by the same circuit architect, but wide open, plenty of space for overtaking. And then Ningbo International, you can be sure very few of the drivers competing in this championship have been there before. No prior experience. And they'll all be working very, very hard on any sim that they can find. But this is a moment I always love ahead of the race, when everyone is asked to leave the grid, bar one mechanic per car, to make sure they get to fire up and then leave to go on their formation lap. But 31 cars as the grid continues to grow and grow in the second Blancpain GT Series Asia. And for a lot of these drivers racing on home ground, for 18 of the Japanese drivers, a number of the other international drivers have raced here quite a bit. But for anybody to race at Suzuka is an honour and a challenge. And certainly I would suggest on your race CV at the end of your career, if you have a Suzuka victory on it, you're going to feel just that little bit better. It's such a difficult circuit, a daunting circuit, but one that really rewards bravery as well as precision. 1 minute until the start of the formation lap. As you can see, a little bit of a breeze down there, and that's very welcome from everybody in the pit lane, because the humidity was 82% yesterday. Very much find yourself wishing you'd worn some shorts, but most people, of course, wearing team uniforms with trousers and long sleeve shirts, quite suitable for a European race series, but maybe not so good in heat out here in Asia. But there are the cars on the grid. 2 Ferraris on the front row. The red one on the left-hand side of the screen. Nick Foster will be starting that. Fellow Australian Tim Slade will take the second one, and it's attracting a lot of interest from above. And there is the local flora and fauna, one could say. So the grid now nearly clear. Just to reiterate, 23 GT3 cars, 8 GT4s, 31 cars in all, 62 drivers, 18 of whom are Japanese. And when the signal is given, the Mercedes pace car, the safety car, will be followed off
around the formation lap. Track looked very good indeed. Friday night we had a huge downpour. White blew all the rubber off the circuit. So through yesterday, which was a dry day, throughout it was a case of the rubber being put back down by all the racing activities. So the drivers will all appreciate that little bit extra grip today. Just to run down the grid as they set off, it's Nick Foster leading away from his fellow Hub Autocorsa teammate, two Ferraris. Tim Slade will kick off in number 28. Then the Mercedes of Raffaele Marciello and Marco Mappelli in the top Lamborghini. Row 3, Martin Kodrich will kick off in the second of the FFF Lamborghinis, then Patrick Niederhauser in the second of the Mercedes. That's the one with the red stripes. Adeli Fong on row 4, along with Alex Imperatori, who we heard from. Then Josh Burton will hope to improve on yesterday's form alongside Stanley Stubik, because he had a clash in the race and it ended up on the sidelines. Kay Cozzolino will make the Car Guy Racing Lamborghini. Here it is, the bright yellow one, number 777, go very well indeed. The Korean pairing, Rolf Bruins and on the 7th row alongside Alex Jung. 8th row, Florian Strauss. Look for that one coming forward, the second of the KCMG Nissans. Alongside you've got one of the two Yamano brothers in their EB Porsche. Just looking, wow. Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert all the way down there. Expect them to come forward. Certainly that's not their natural habitat. Row 10. Last few runners in the GT3 class. And then on row number 12 we get the top car in GT4. Car number 81, the BMW, that will be kicked off by Sunaka Jukuchu. Reinhold Renger, he'll kick off in the 666 Mercedes, the car that had won 3 of the 4 rounds before we came here to Suzuka. Jean-Marc Merlin, just sitting on the road behind, he's moved across Craft Bamboo from Porsche Cayman to Mercedes AMG. And but for a puncture yesterday would have gone rather better. So there, the final starting row goes to the McLaren, all on its own. Daniel Au sharing the Clearwater Racing McLaren with Richard Wee. So much variety, and I just want to throw in this fact one more time. Yesterday's top 6 finishers were driving 6 different makes of cars, which is exactly how you'd like it to be when you go GT racing. And the fact of the matter, you go to the next circuit, Fuji International Speedway, the mix is going to be entirely different all over again. But right here, the Lamborghinis last year and this year have been very strong, so we got smashing those at the front end of the grid. But when it came to qualifying, it was the Ferraris that came out on top. Red clearly marginally quicker than yellow. The gap between them in times was a third of a second as near as. Nick Foster ahead of Tim Slade. So Foster's in the red one, red 488, sharing with the fellow pro in Yi Hong Lee, whereas Maurice Chen is in the AM class. That's why the second place car is in the Pro-Am category. We're going for Pro-Am honours rather than outright victory. We'd love outright victory, but Maurice Chen isn't likely to be able to deliver against all of the pros that will be taking over in the Pro lineups in this race. For FFF Racing Team, by ACM, they're 2 black and green Lamborghini Huracans. They must be hoping for more glory, but I think it's the consistent excellence in particular of Martin Kodrich and Dennis Lind, which explains why, as well as their sheer pace, why they are the championship leaders. They're 9 points clear of the rest, but we've got 3 crews 9 points behind, equal in second. Who's going to come out ahead when we get down? We've got to get all the cars onto the start-finish straight light. Let's look at the lights on the gantry. Waiting for the last of GT4 cars who've rather got dropped. They're behind at the start. They should have kept up better. But it looks like, oh dear, we've got Imperatori on the grass. That will cost some momentum. We've got Sandy Stubik's gained a place or 2, but the front row has slotted into... In fact, it looks like the first 5 cars have stayed in grid order. Nick Foster leading from Tim Slade. In 3rd place, we've got Raffaele Marciello. He'll be looking to really make a move in the early laps. His teammate is in the AM class, so he's got to build the biggest gap he can to not lose too much time overall in the race. But we look, someone kicking up the dirt in about 7th place. At the top of the S's, that would have been a hearty-mouth moment. But Nick Foster is already making the break in the red Ferrari. And then someone else kicking up some dust behind. Have we a spinner? Yes, we have number 7. So unfortunately, Adeli Fong has got it wrong, off into the gravel. And I think that was possibly a result of what happened the one before. Cars getting out of line in avoidance of someone who kicked up some dirt. And he got to where the track then turned to the right, halfway up through the S's, and Adeli ended up in the gravel alongside. Let's hope that can be recovered by all the pack has streamed past. But for Nick Foster, what an opening lap. Obviously 6-7 car lengths clear as they reach the hairpin, and you can see Raffaele Marciello attacking Tim Slade for 2nd place. Didn't make it happen. The 2 FFF Racing Lamborghinis tucked in behind him, 4th and 5th places. Mappelli, I think, still ahead of Kodrich. Just waiting to see as we watch the field stream
up towards the entrance to the Spoon. That is a very, very impressive lead for Nick Foster. He's obviously taking quite some risk on his tyres. They're still trying to get it up to full racing temperature, but he balanced it very well going through Spoon, or more importantly, out of Spoon. Waved yellow flag, safety car. You can see the symbol at the side of the circuit. So for Nick Foster, that lead, that mighty lead he's built up in the space of half a lap, has been reduced to a couple of car lengths. It's unlucky, but the main thing was he got the lead, he protected his advantage, but it's not surprising with Adderley Fong stuck in the gravel that they had to recover the car. So let's take a look at the start all over again. It looked absolutely even between the Ferraris, and look for the Imperatore Nissan going grass cutting, trying to get around Raffaele Marciello in a bold move. That cost him momentum. Sandy Stuvik appeared to go charging up from the row behind, and Imperatore's ended up down in about 12th position, I would think. So what could have been a challenge for 5th place or so, or 6th place, ended up going totally in the wrong direction. Now, as Nick Foster leads the field, everyone else 1-2 abreast into the S's. It's Foster from Slade. A couple of people getting yes. It was where the grouping around about 10th place on the grid, maybe 8th to 10th, was running. You can see they were still trying to do 2 by 2, and through the S's. That's not really always a recipe for success. You can see some wheel marks up through the gravel trap. It should be on the outside of this next turn that the number 7 Audi is to be found deep in the gravel. Let's have a look to the left-hand side. Indeed, there it is. So managed the left, the right, but not the second left. So very, very frustrating for the Absolute Racing team. Don't forget, that's the team that came away with victory. And how did yesterday's winners get on in the first part of the race? In fact, Frankie Cheng lost 5 positions, so I think possibly he was starting down in 12th place. He possibly got caught up in that moment with his own teammate, lost momentum, maybe in avoidance, but Frankie Cheng has gone the wrong way from 12th down to 17th, and he's got the 15-second extra at a standstill come his pit stop. So I think yesterday's win is very much going to be their best result of this weekend at Suzuka. So for all the drivers just trying to keep the heat in their tyres, Nick Foster will be cursing very slightly about the loss of that fantastic lead he built up around the opening lap. We're good to see the marshals up at about, that will make it about turn number 5 or 6. They've got Adderley Fong's car with a marshal on board. Adderley has climbed there. In fact, you can see the bodywork damage on Mark over just behind the door, back part of the door. So someone has clattered Adderley up the driver's left rear side, and presumably that's what would have tipped him off. They can do the forensics later to work out who it was. So looking to see who's gained positions. Well, Sandy Stuvik is the chief beneficiary, 10th up to 7th. Alex Imperatore went the other way from 8th down to 12th, cost entirely by putting his wheels out onto the grass as it accelerated away from the starting grid. And the car that started on pole in GT4, the number 81 BMW with Jukuk Chu, is leading the class ahead of Reinhold Renger, who started second in the 666 Mercedes. Gilles Vanderlei has gone well. He's third in class in the Team I Race .win Mercedes that tends to go very well indeed. Held up a little bit by a spin yesterday, but the pace does seem to be there. There it is, number 72. You can see it sort of running in line behind the safety car, as indeed all the cars are meant to do. Shouldn't be too long. I'm looking for all sorts of messages on screen. In fact, one message I do see is car number 5 is under investigation for a starting procedure matter. That's Alex Young. He started down 14th on the grid. He's got up to 8th. So perhaps they could have a point, because he might have just gained an incident that ended up with Adderley Fong off the circuit, but certainly 14th up to 8th means that all your ducks would be in a row, all your stars would be in alignment to weave your way through the traffic. But we will see. I'll keep a look for any further messages on the screen. Quite clearly we're doing one further lap at least behind the safety car. But I think it really should be the last lap behind the safety car. So let's just run down that race order. It's the 2 Ferraris from Hub Auto Corsa. It's Nick Foster from Tim Slade. Raffaele Marciello is third for the Group M Mercedes team, with his teammate Patrick Niederhauser in 6th place. Between them they have the 2 FFF Racing Lamborghinis, Marco Mappelli and Martin Kodrich. Then comes Sandy Stuvik
And in behind there's Stuvik on the left of the screen. On the right of the screen is the driver under investigation for possible jump start, which is Alex Jung in the number 5 Phoenix Racing Asia Audi. Then comes Kei Cozzolino, who's sharing the Car Guy Racing Lamborghini. Let's take a look at the start. Right hand side of the screen, look for a red, white and black Audi, which we can now see jinking out of line. Was he already underway before the lights turned to red? I need to see that a few more times. Certainly Alex Imperatori in front of him was desperately keen to get away and ended up on the grass and just lost so much traffic. Jung passed him there, went round the outside trying to challenge Sandy Stuvik, but tucked into 8th place. But from 14th, we will see what judgment is made. Safety car in at the end of this lap. That's good news indeed. Looking down the order, there's Sandy Stuvik, there's Alex Jung, there's Kei Cozzolino in the Car Guy Racing Lamborghini. You can see he's already probably had the message from his crew. They would have seen the message, the safety car is coming in, doing what he needs to do, get as close to the car in front as you can be. The driver who will dictate when they all set off, the safety car will pull in, and then Nick Foster, he can choose the moment that he floors his throttle. But if anyone like Tim Slade from behind challenges, thinks I'll guess when it's going to go, and ends up moving ahead of him before the start-finish line, they will get a penalty. But Nick Foster will want the best moment of surprise that he can get. Some of the field behind Kei Cozzolino, which is Rolf Bruins et al., they need to get onto his tail. If you're further down the order, you want all the cars in front of you to be as close to the car in front of them, because otherwise your disadvantage to the race leader is elongated with every interval between those cars. So all pro drivers should be right on their toes. All the teams are certainly on their toes, waiting for this restart. You can see several drivers in Success Racing Garage cooling their hands there, because they will be in the car next. That would be Tomotsu Kondo. Air conditioning definitely required on the garages. It's very hot and humid here at Suzuka, but luckily there is that little breeze just to keep the edge off all of that. Two KCMG Nissans together, that would be disappointing for them. 12th and 13th, Imperatoria ahead of Florian Strauss. Florian started down in 15th, but certainly for Alex Imperatori, could have been a brilliant start. Starting 8th, but getting on the grass cost him so much momentum. Team EB Porsche crew, great to have them on board this weekend. Shared by the two brothers, Tetsuya, who will go second, and Naoya, who has started. Tetsuya has 3 Super GT, GT300, the subclass championship titles, so clearly a driver of considerable aplomb. So the start-finish straight, the safety car is back into the pits. Need to see how they come round the final corner. Already flat on the throttle is race leader Nick Foster. Tim Slade trying to hang on to him. Raffaele Marcello fancying this could be his opportunity to make a dive into second place at the opening corner. As you can see, not close enough in his Ferrari to challenge, but in behind him, Marco Mappelli in the 4th place Lamborghini, looking very lively indeed. But Nick Foster's done the job that he needed to do. Perfect restart for him. He's now going to start to see if he can build his advantage over Tim Slade all over again. But the thing for Slade, he hasn't got the Mercedes of Marcello right on his tail. At least now he's not defending, he's trying to attack. He may this time be able to stay close to the pace of Nick Foster. Let us see. But already, as they go towards the Degners, you can see Foster is starting to eke clear all over again. Look at the balance of that car. And he's not afraid to attack a curb, get a twitch on the exit between Degner 1 and Degner 2. But he's got a lot of aplomb, and again, very happy to cane it as soon as he can on tyres that are yet to get fully up to their operating temperature all over again after the safety car. And yet again, you see Marcello takes a very tight line at the hairpin, where Tim Slade ahead of him in the yellow Ferrari takes a wider line, so it presents a possibility of a pass. But then better speed out of the corner allows Tim Slade to power away all over again. GT4 cars in the background. There we have it, the class leader, number 81, Jakuchu, just ahead of Reinhold Renger in the 666 Mercedes. 3rd in class is Gilles Vannelet. There's the gap, there is Vannelet in the 2nd of the 2 Mercedes. And then behind him, Jean-Marc Merlin. Remember these times, 14 minutes and a few seconds until the pit stop window opens. It'll be open for 10 minutes. And in a Pro-Am lineup, expect the pro, like Tim Slade, to stay out as long as he possibly can. Nick Foster may choose to pit earlier if he fancies to hand over to his teammates, Yi Hong Lee, but certainly Maurice Chen will probably want the least time in the car. No, he'll love racing the car, but he wants the best out of Tim Slade, which means running as close as possible to the 35 minutes. That's the point at which the pit window will close this race. BMW Tube Steedy, what a happy garage. Racing at home makes them smile, but first and third yesterday was very, very well received by everybody in the garage. Today they're running first with Jakuchu, but unfortunately maybe losing a place or two is Chen in the sister car. Max Chen from Taipei, who shares with Ken Urata. Ken busy this weekend, competing also in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo races here, so maximising. First few positions look to be stable, but again Nick Foster has added another couple of car lengths on that last lap. His advantage 1.001 seconds at the end of the first flying lap after the safety cars, and it looks to be stretching all the time. Where is the move coming from? First six running in the order: Foster, Slade, Marciello, Mapelli, Kodrich, and then Niederhauser in the second of the Group M Racing Mercedes. Niederhauser, the most successful driver in terms of win this year, the only one to have 2 wins to his name, but he's going to have to get a little bit of a move on because he's down at 6, but he's in a pro lineup, sharing with Marcus Pommer, so definitely a good shot for a podium. Also no success penalty for him when they get to the pit stops. There was a place change on that first lap after the safety car. Seijiara, Le Mans winner, has actually slid back a position to 19th, and Josh Burden has moved up one in the 37 Audi. What we can see now, Foster escaping, Marciello in that 888 Mercedes starting to get on Tim Slade's back wing, getting closer and closer up to 130. They go. Legendary corner here at Suzuka. Circuit with a handful of legendary corners, but certainly one in which you carry a lot more speed than you think your heart's going to be able to take. But certainly for race leader Nick Foster, everything's so very well balanced indeed. But Tim Slade, having said that he was going to be able to attack, not defend, unfortunately I think that option is being removed from him. Down the dipping start finish straight. His advantage, he's lost 4/10 of a second for the race leader. He's only got a third of a second advantage over Marciello. One massive factor here is that tyre wear can be very high indeed. Hardly surprising. You look at the number of really fast corners they have. Even this sector here coming up through the S's really, really works the cars. Left, then right, then left, then right, and if you're lucky you get to complete the sequence at the top. Marciello, a little bit of a twitch there, trying to balance the car. Changed the mind by the things of which line he wanted to take, but at this stage in the race, that's okay. Later on, when the tyres are less receptive to changes like that, it will start to do a fair bit of damage. But again, lovely momentum over the top of the hill towards the Degners, and Tim Slade has got company. Apelli in 4th and Kodrich in 5th at this stage can do nothing about the cars ahead. And for Nick Foster, it's not a Sunday afternoon drive, it's a Sunday morning drive, just 7 minutes past 11. Here at Suzuka, he's got no pressure from behind, not immediate pressure. And what was a 1.4 second advantage really does appear to be stretching out. In fact, he just set the fastest first sector of anybody. His last lap was the fastest race thus far, but you feel this one will be faster still. Just looking down, battling for the last couple of positions in the GT3 class. Yamano in the 33 Porsche, not that far ahead of the GT4 class leader. There is the GT4 class leader, number 81. And we've had a change behind because Gilles Vannelay's got bold. He's moved past Reinhold Renger. It's all about battles within the overall battle, and wanting to be the top Mercedes is clearly very important for Team I Race.Win. The only team that had toppled Reinhold Renger in the first 3 races of the championship because they came home victorious in the second race. Ringo Chon and Gilles Vandelay, second race at Sepang. They took the class win. Haven't had one since, but on today's form, they're really putting Jakarta under a fair bit of pressure. So Vandelay up to second in class, which puts him into 24th overall. And Reinhold Renger, unaccustomed as he is, down heading for the bronze medal at the moment. Has a new teammate this weekend, though. Very handy young former Japanese Formula 3 racer, so he's not doing the whole race on his own. It was never the plan, ended up doing that at Chang International. I think probably cooled down about a week after it, 1 hour in unbelievably hot temperatures there, where track temperatures, get this, hit just a whiff under 60 degrees. Really, really incredibly exhausting, but he's a fit man, so he can get through it all, but being able to hand over to someone will be great for him. There is that 666 Mercedes AMG. So unaccustomed to not being first, unaccustomed to not being second.
in third, but he's also having to have a look. What is the gap going out from the 81 BMW, leading the class? 3/4 of a second over Vanderlei. And then Reinhold Renger in third, lapping all within about 1/10 of a second of each other at the moment. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to third of the Mercedes, Jean-Marc Merlin. It's about just under 5 seconds back off this grouping. Out at the front of the race, though, another really quick lap from the race leader. He gained around 1/4 of a second on Tim Slade, and these margins start to build up. But Nick Foster just looking so unflustered. Tim Slade still looking unflustered, but he's got company. Not quite as close as last time, but trying to pretend he's close by flashing his headlights. Again, better exit from Spoon means Raffaele Marciello seems to have been able to just tow himself onto the tail. Now he's using the aerodynamic tow of the yellow Ferrari, trying to A, pass it, and B, get both of them closer to the race leader. Marco Mappelli still in 4th place overall. Then comes Kodric, falling back a little bit, Kodric, and then Niederhauser. Again, a Mercedes that is the hunted. Niederhauser getting right onto Kodric's tail. There you can see sweeping through the final corner. Just about see the orange wing mirrors of the number 999 Mercedes in 6th place. And then comes Sandy Stuvik, about 4 seconds behind, but he did incredibly well. As we said, he started in 12th place, got up to 7th, and there he stayed, but he's not dropping away. Don't forget, for these drivers, though, it's about preserving their tyres, keeping them sweet for as long as they can. This circuit, the Suzuka circuit, really, really works the rubber. Through the twisty parts, Tim Slade seems to have the measure of Raffaele Marciello. Raffaele's not taking any risks at the moment. He's just sizing up the opportunities. But he's a driver who, you watch him in a packed field of cars, he's no stranger to overtaking. He's not scared of it. First to second, 1.7 seconds. So again, the margin is going out, but only by a small fraction. Marco Mappelli is sensing that Raffaele Marciello is being held up. There is Reinhold Renger waiting to take over his car. That's down third in class. It's in the GT4 category. We go spotted Marcus Pommer on the right-hand side of the garage as well at Group M Racing. Pit window opens in 6 minutes exactly. Looking at both those drivers, it looks like they're going to get a shorter second stint, and there'll be a longer starting stint from their team leaders. In this case, for Pommer, it's his teammate who's out there on the circuit at the moment, Patrick Niederhauser, in 6th place. Gilles Vanderlei is looking very, very serious about getting into the lead of the GT4 class. Pushing very, very hard indeed. Where is the gap? No gap as yet. Now this isn't scheduled. This is Alex Young. Drive-through penalty. Yes, sorry, I hadn't noticed that come onto the timing screen. For a jump start, or called a false start here. So very frustrating for Alex Young, Malaysian racer. Entered the top of the pits, he will drive through and then release the pit lane speed limiter, go back onto the circuit. I'd suggest he'd be in among the GT4 runners. They should be coming down the start-finish straight any second now. They've just got out ahead of them. Yes, Chikuchu hasn't quite completed lap number 8. So at least Alex, when he comes back out onto the circuit, possibly a little hot under the collar, shouldn't have to play with those. Now, which of the cars up ahead? We saw the tails. The next car up should be Takai in the ARN Racing Ferrari. In fact, it did look as though it was a red car, but this GT4 battle really is exactly what we want to see in racing, nose to tail stuff, and with the car in the middle really getting a push on, and push was very nearly the operative word out of the corner, the Casio triangle. The chicane breaks up the end of the lap, but again, maybe slightly too close. At that point, Chikuchu was putting on the power and is able to pull away down the start-finish straight. Maybe that little dive breaking a little bit late, perhaps, from Gilles Vanderlei. Just lost the momentum he needed on the exit of the corner. And in behind is Reinhold Renger, pushing hard. So what was I talking about, saying Reinhold Renger was in the garage? Of course he's not. He's in the 666 Mercedes. drivers we probably saw in there, but of course it was Alexander Matchell. Of course that was who was waving at the camera. Alexander will be taking over from Raffaele Marciello, so his car in third place overall. Yes, Alexander, a tall... Oh dear. Well, our second place Ferrari has had a contretemps with Daniel Lau's McLaren, was bringing up the rear of the race. The car that was second is now out of the race. Marciello is into second, Mapelli third, Kodric fourth, and Tim Slade. As you can see, that yellow 28 Ferrari, it's been a misunderstanding, a disagreement, but contact into the chicane. Well, let's have a look at what happened. Through race leader Nick Foster past Daniel Lau. Daniel in behind. Well, he's minding his own business, but I think just caught out by the fact that Lau braked so heavily. Tim Slade with Raffaele Marciello right behind. You can see his front left steering absolutely broken, and behind Patrick Niederhauser in avoidance went up the escape road at the chicane, but absolutely clear what happened there. Tim Slade not wanting to lose any momentum, trying to brake as late as possible in the corner, suddenly found where he wanted to be was the McLaren that he thought might have been slightly faster into the corner, but for Daniel Audi, he'd looked in his mirror, he'd let the race leader pass and then seen all the others in behind. He knew he had to stay to the left, but for Hub Auto Corsa, that is a real blow. For everyone else who's managed to get past, hello, it's the safety car all over again. So Nick Foster, the story of his race, is leading from pole, building a lead, safety car comes out, the lead is reduced, does the whole thing all over again. And the safety car hasn't picked up the race leader. This will be sorted. It's come out ahead of Darrell O'Young, who's down in 17th place, and Team EB Porsche, which is Naoya Yamano. So rear end damage to Daniel Lau's Clearwater Racing McLaren, front end damage to Tim Slade, who was in second place. So for Maurice Chen, who was hoping to take over in a good position, possibly as high as second place, he will not get to race, which will be a bitter disappointment. So a chance for all the runners throughout the field to close in on the leaders in their classes, the cars ahead of them. Of course, they will bunch up behind the safety car. Now, what is the safety car doing? It's waving all these drivers in the second and the half of the field through, because it wants to wait, as Alex Young in the background. He's had his drive-through penalty, so he's going to go up and catch up with Takai. And the safety car, the Mercedes safety car, is going to wait until everybody's been waved through, up to the point at which you'll see the red and white nose of Nick Foster's Ferrari. Nick Foster, the race leader, the driver who managed to get past the McLaren before his teammate Tim Slade failed to get past the McLaren into the chicane. The contact there taking him out of the race, taking the McLaren out of the race from the GT4 class. Here is our race leader. Rounds turns 1 and 2 into the S's, pressing on. Safety car on track, they know that. They'll have seen the waved yellow flags. And there's a fair bit of the McLaren, I would suggest, that needs to be removed. Ron Marshall doing valiant business. And we need them with their brooms very quickly out of the circuit, because you don't want any of that debris. Here's a second replay. Nick Foster through, no problem. Daniel Lau towards the edge of the circuit, and I don't think Daniel did anything particularly wrong, and I think in behind Tim Slade was simply trying to get into the corner ahead of Raffaele Marciello, and two cars on one piece of tarmac did not work. I suppose Daniel Lau could have dived up the safety road, but it's not really his position to have to do that. So an unfortunate moment. And we have the waved yellow flags. The pit window is open. Oh yes, of course it would be, just to complicate matters. So for all the teams, Absolute Racing there, they're lining up their drivers to go out and do the driver change as soon as they can. For all the drivers who are planning to stay out for longer, they'll be looking at the accident scene, checking to see if there's debris on the circuit, because this could really undo somebody's race. If they're clever, they'll stay over to driver's right, the left-hand side of the screen. Up to this point on the circuit behind the safety car, that's the GT4 class leader. 81. Sunako Jukuchu has had such a good meeting, tucked in behind team race.win. So the class leader in GT4 and Reinhold Renger from third in the class have decided they're going to make their pit stop as soon as possible. The pit window is open. That McLaren, the stricken McLaren, we know one wheel short of its full complement. Oh, well, Nick Foster's decided to come in as well, and Raffaele Marciello, despite him being a pro in the Pro-Am line-out, naturally he would stay out longer. But he's decided, I'm going to come in now anyway and hand over to Alexander Matchell. So we saw Matchell in the pit garage. Hopefully he's suited and booted. I'm sure he will be ready to go. Reinhold Renger out, and a very, what's it, Edmondson look-alike helmet. Replica helmet for, car moving. No one on board, not a good thing. So rear cheerer of Suzuka will take over. He's certainly made quite a splash on his debut. But with a pro lineup, it's not overly surprising that Nick Foster's decided now is the moment, and putting Yi Hong Lee, his teammate, on board. And we'll see how this goes. But it's not a case of having to maximise or minimise anyone's time. It's making sure they don't get caught out by someone else running a different tactic under the safety car. Raffaele Marciello's car, 888 at the start of the pit lane. It's the silver car with a blue stripe up it. Josh Burden is getting out. Anthony Liu will take over in the number 37. Absolute Racing Audi, one of 3 run by this team. Immaculate preparation. Pit stops all have a minimum pit stop time, but don't forget 3 of the cars in the GT3 class will have extra time at a standstill. 5 seconds extra, well, also 15 seconds extra for the 81 BMW, because that won the GT4 class yesterday. Gilles Vannelet, though, does not have a time penalty, so that should see him returning probably to the front of the class. So pit exit, creep slowly with the speed limiter on, and then blast off down to turn 1. But don't forget, safety car still out on the track. So Martin Rump, who really was so impressive yesterday, he's got, that victory means 15 seconds extra for him at a standstill, but let's see what he can do. He's got over half an hour to go out and play, but starting down in 12th position hasn't exactly been the dream place from which to start the race. Plus that time penalties, they'll have to have other misfortunes for others to propel them up the order as well as their own pace. It's not always a comfortable place to be, but you take whatever gifts are offered. So, incident aplenty, not yet at the halfway point in this 1 hour race. Wave yellow flags, SC boards around the circuit, so even with that penalty, 15 seconds extra, comes out of the pits, hot on the tail of the car that came in from 3rd, but that had 10 seconds extra at a standstill, so I feel that some of its rivals will have gained an advantage there. Safety car is now leading Kei Cozzolino's Car Guy Racing Lamborghini, which is staying out and is now the race leader because all the 5 cars ahead of it have made their pit stops. But Cozzolino will definitely stay out towards the end because the car owner, the man who's so famous as head of Car Guy Racing, Takeshi Kimura, does not match the pace of Cozzolino, so it's absolutely built in that Kei will stay out as long as he possibly can. But he would like to be at racing speed, not at safety car speed. This is always the problem when you have a safety car coming out. Hurts you less. Well, it's busy down in the pits, and Claire has nipped along very quickly, and the driver she needed to talk to is the driver she's caught, the driver who started from pole. It's the driver who led the race up to the pit stop. She's down there with Nick Foster.
Brilliant. Well, I've got Nick Foster here from Hub Auto. Nick, well done, race leader. How frustrating is it with all that's going out on circuit right now, especially when you make a lead?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it difficult. It's definitely changed the scope of the race quite a lot. Not just for us, for everyone. But, you know, the team itself has done a ripper job. I mean, we've obviously got the new Pirelli this weekend. I don't know about the other teams, but we only had the Thursday test on it. So to make that improvement over the day, even with the BOP hit and how quick we were in qualifying, it's been a real positive for us. And as a new team, like 3 rounds in, we're really stoked with the performance. You know, 1-2 in qualifying was mega. That's, you know, a highlight for us so far. The race itself was great. Got out to a good start. Safety car got another good little bit of a gap. And then another safety car. I don't know what's happened there with Timmy, but that's a massive shame for the 28 car. But yeah, it's changed the scope of the race completely. I mean, we've got in, Leo's out now. I think we're still leading in terms of people who have pitted, but I've got no idea. So we'll see how that all pans out over the next 5 or 10, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Now, going back to the tyre situation, I mean, for some cars it's been an advantage, some it's been disadvantage, like the Porsche, for instance. Disadvantage mainly because just the setup of the car. Has this been a positive advantage for you guys?
Well, to be fair, initially not really. It's been a big change. So where we'd got to over the last couple of rounds, we started to get some performance, and then that really went away. So we've actually had to basically re-engineer the wheel ourselves over the Thursday. So we've done a really good job of that, and I think that's where the car speeds come from. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's been an advantage-disadvantage, but we've just, this weekend, this temperature, this track, we seem to have made the most out of it at the moment.
Fantastic, and congratulations thus far. We're looking for you, hopefully, on the podium.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Nick Foster and Claire, and it was good to have an extended interview there, because clearly with the safety car out on the circuit, not too much is happening. Everybody who needs to make a pit stop has made a pit stop, and good to hear Nick's points there, because he talks very much about the sort of yin and the yang, if you will. Some teams have gained, the last few cars are making their pit stops, and Gilles Vandelet handing over the 72 car as late as he possibly could to Ringo Chong, just waiting for that pit stop to come to an end. The pit window is still open, and behind is the Craft Bamboo Racing 77 Mercedes in as well. Frank Hugh will do the second leg in that, but really it's always difficult for a driver when they're doing an interview and they want to look at the timing screens, they want to look at the monitors, and they want to see whether their car has got out in the position they hoped it would get out in the general scramble from the pits. But certainly from those that came in as soon as they could under the safety car, the 27 Ferrari is at the front, and indeed that is where it is. And looking what's happened during the pit stops there is the 999 Mercedes has moved up into an effective 4th overall, having run 5th, so it's got past the number 19 Lamborghini that had 5 seconds extra in its pit stop because it finished 3rd yesterday. That is why those changes happened. That is why most of the cars at the front end of the field weren't stymied by success pit stop times. So due to 3rd place yesterday, the number 19 car, that's why it's slipped back from 4th to 5th. But those that heftier time penalties are further back down the order. So the safety car has withdrawn, and it's in the hands of Leo Yihong Lee in the 27 Ferrari to dictate the getaway moment. Absolute second, the pedal is mashed to the floor, and he's done it incredibly well, because behind him Alexander Matchell has lost a lot of ground, and you can see making a big charge. Marcus Pommer doesn't fancy 4th place too much, so he's going for 3rd. And Pommer getting around down the inside of Hamaguchi. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, has he made that move stick? Waiting, he's up the inside. Hamaguchi trying to brave it around the outside of turn 2, but let's have a look. Well, in fact, it's worked so well for Hamaguchi, he's held onto the place, and Dennis Lind just thought, oh, while you two are fighting, I'm going to at least overtake one of you. And he's trying to get up past his teammate as well, because Dennis Lind, who led the early stages of the race yesterday, really has been an absolute class act here at Suzuka. Let's see, has he got up into 3rd place? Wait for the gaggle of cars coming through, and it is indeed Lind ahead of Hamaguchi. You'd expect that in terms of pure pace, but when it came to overtaking in yesterday's race, Dennis Lind was absolutely fantastic. Martin Rupp was on his tail. They came up on a trio of GT4 cars, and suddenly the gap went out from half a second to 4 seconds. He was so positive. Indigo Racing Mercedes making a bit of a charge there. Ju-Won Seo, there it is, number 97, suddenly coming right up into the mix. This could be a big day for Indigo Racing. Getting close to the tail of Mercedes now, the 23 tucked in behind Edoardo Liberati. This is a car that tends to get better and better, and particularly when in the hands of Liberati in the late stages of races, so I don't think we've seen the last of that KCMG car. Now suddenly the 991 Porsche going past Otsuka's GT4 Mercedes, and he's got company from behind, because the car that was started by Alex Jung has now got Sean Thong on board. And Sean's always such an exciting driver to watch, already making progress. Race leader, Liang Yi. Alexander Matchell in 2nd. 3rd place now, Dennis Lind going past one of the GT4 cars. Expect Lind to move on to the tail very soon of Pommer. Pommer getting right on the tail of Hamaguchi. Frank Hugh in the position where the McLaren was hit by Tim Slade. Looks to have just managed to get enough out of the way. Yeah, goes to the right-hand side of the circuit. So the last 2 GT4 cars making their pit stops, keeping out of the way. Now, one driver we haven't heard from this weekend, he's just done the opening stint of the race in the 991 Porsche, Daryl O'Young. He's down in the pits with Claire.
Okay, right now we've got Daryl Young in the car, 991. Daryl, tell us, you guys started in 20th position, end up in 12th so far in the swap over. Has all the drama on the circuit worked to your advantage and the safety car?
Yeah, definitely. Well, unfortunately, our car right now, we had a hit yesterday, and actually we have quite a bit of damage, and the car is not running exactly 100%. So actually we were up to 14th, and just lack of pace and dropped back to 20th. Luckily, the safety car did work out very well for us, and we ended up back in 12th, and we'll see what Aiden can do to keep the car up front, and we'll just fight as hard as we can all the way to the end.
Now, a big situation this week in tyre pressures and the new tyres. Has this really worked out in advantage for your cars over here? We heard that the drop-off was quite steep when it came to tyre usage.
Yes, of course, it's a very steep learning curve. We had very little time to try to adapt to this new tyre. Yesterday, our Crap Bamboo car was on the podium and shown good pace, but also the car still has a lot of room for improvement. So I do believe that, we made a good step, but I think we need to keep working hard to get better for Fuji.
Okay, brilliant. Great stuff. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Good to hear from Doyo, as he's nicknamed, but his car is 12th. There it is, going out to the right-hand side of the image, but right in behind, Sean Thong is pressing very, very hard in the Phoenix Racing Asia Audi. The Indigo car going a little bit wide there, out over the exit of the Spoon Curve. 97 car is going to be monstered by Liberati. He definitely would have lost momentum there, but our race leader not losing momentum. Yi leading the race, Hongli Yi. There he is in 27. He was 2.4 seconds clear of Alexander Matchell last time around, ahead of the 888 Mercedes. Dennis Lin to the 19 Lamborghini is third. What would it be this time? Up to the start-finish line, or one should say down to the start-finish line, because it's on a decline. 2.6 seconds clear now. So car 27 still leading the race. Nick Foster, we heard from him after the pit stop. Handed over to Leo Hongli Yi. And Leo's doing a very good job out there on the circuit, building his advantage over Alexander Matchell. Alexander is an AM driver though, so his days in second place may be numbered. That's certainly the plan for Dennis Lind. He was half a second down on the start-finish line, pushing very hard to see if he can put his Lamborghini, number 19, up into second place overall. But out through the top of the S's, Leo going very well indeed. Those Ferraris have looked so well balanced here at Suzuka. And of course, the Hub Auto Corsa team had the two cars on the front row, and unfortunately for Tim Slade, his yellow one ended up in a contact with Daniel Au's GT4 McLaren, brought out the safety car, both cars out of the race. Now down towards the tail end of the GT3 class, we have Kondo and McPherson in Lamborghinis. Just saw them battling together. A couple of the Porsche Caymans pushing on very hard indeed. George Chu and Brian Lee, 4th and 5th in the GT4 class, but it's the 666 Mercedes one we see here. Ryoichiro Otsuka now 3rd in GT4, but as you can see, the gaps have opened out. 2nd in GT4 is Frank Yu, and Ringo Chong leading the class in the 72 Mercedes. This 666 one is down in 3rd place in class and 15 seconds down. But of course, success penalty cost them dearly. That car had an extra 10 seconds pit stop disadvantage. Leo Yi leading the race from Alexander Matchell. Unfortunately, 3 of the 31 starters out of the race, Slade, Au and Fong. Fong off in the gravel, brought out the first safety car, and Slade and Au, they had their clash and brought out the second safety car. 20 minutes and small change left in this 1 hour race. Race number 6, round number 3 of the second Blancpain GT Series Asia. Is battling up and down the order, but no battling right at the front, because Leo Hongli Yi leading by now 3.4 seconds. But battling behind, Alexander Matchell still in second place, but Dennis Lind 4/10 of a second down, pushing in very hard. Go back another 3 seconds, Hamaguchi ahead of Pommer. Again, a gap of just 4/10 of a second behind there, so pretty close. 7.5 seconds covering, well, in fact 8 and a bit seconds covering the top 6. It's Liberati making a bit of a move in the 23 Nissan, trying to close up. Looking very well settled. Last lap, his pace dropped away a bit. In fact, Eduardo Liberati in 6th place was the fastest driver at the top end of the field, and Martin Rump just moved up a position ahead of Anthony Liu. His teammate was even faster, equally fast, down in 10th place, but he's on the move up the order. Yesterday's winners, Martin Rump and Frankie Chen Kung Fu, started 12th, had a 15-second success penalty added to their pit stop time, so any progress is going to come late in the race, but certainly Martin Rump started to pick up the order. Had a little moment there just looking at Rio Suzuka. I thought he had a bit of a puncture, swerving quite heavily at the top of the S-turns, but hopefully all is right for him in the 666. Mercedes third in the GT4 class, but here is a car that has just moved into second place because Dennis Lind started the lap in third. He's now up into second in the number 19 Lamborghini. This is the championship leading car that he shares with Martin Kodrich. And if he can come home in second place, that'll be another 18 points for the challenge. And the car that's ahead of him is behind him in the championship, so he will stretch his advantage over most of his chasers. 25 for a win, 18 points for second, 15, 12, etc., down to 1 point for 10th. But for Dennis Lind and his teammate Kodrich, so far this season, no wins, but they've had 2 second places, a third, a 6th, and a 5th. On this form, let's look at the lap times. He's starting to take chunks out of the race leader, half a second quicker last time around. So we could have chase on for the glory that the FF Racing team has been seeking throughout last year and for this. And to do it at Suzuka would be massive for them. But Lamborghini Huracans looked good here last year and are looking very good all over again. Alexander Matchell didn't expect to advance, he expected to lose positions because he is an AM relative to the Pro-Pro combination, still leading the Pro-Am class though. Next car is in fact the third car behind him, which is Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the 63 Lamborghini. GT4 class leader Ringo Chong, as mentioned, took a class victory with Gilles Vanelay in the second of 2 races, the opening round at Sepang, but looking very promising in class because at the moment Chong's got an advantage 2.7 seconds over Frank Hugh. Maybe by dint of having their pit stops late, they've augmented the first half of the race. There is Frank Hugh in the second of those Mercedes, and you have to look back to third place for Mercedes that's won 3 of the 4 races before they came here to Japan this weekend. That's the 666 car from Blancpain Racing. Porsche Cayman's pushing on hard. 17 and 11. Now we're looking at the KCMG Audi, and that has had just such a run of success. It runs in GT3, it's a GT3 car, but it runs in the AM class. And the drivers Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirosaka have won each and every one of the 5, their class, each and every one of the 5 races to date. But are only third in class. So the Porsche Cayman, number 17, enjoying its battle. It's 4th in class, but it's the top Porsche Cayman in the GT4 battle. It's still got one of the 2 BMW M4s tucked in behind. That seems to be catching up because the 81 car, the handsome Kinoshita, is picking up the order. Had that success penalty. Have we got contact? Most certainly we got contact. Does that lead to a spin? Most certainly it does. So I'm afraid Brian Lee has given George Chu more than a bit of a shove, has gained the position, but quite possibly asked to hand it back because clearly that was an advantage gained. Talking of advantages, the performance advantage the 81 BMW has had here. You can see the M4 in the background. Oh dear, which was that the number 3 Audi is out of the race. Yesterday's race winner had been tussling with CO, and Martin Rump has just gone off deep in the gravel. That is buried in the gravel. Trying to work out where it is. Is it the Degners? And so it could be between Degner 1 and Degner 2. Have been pushing very hard for 9th place and out of the race. So Absolute Racing had 2 of their 3 Audi R8 LMSs yesterday out of the race, but they took victory with the one that is now sitting in the gravel. Martin Rump just got up to 9th place overall from 10th, but it's gone very wrong, so no points for them, I'm afraid, today. And in this championship where consistent scoring is required, that is a real blow to their hopes. 12 races across the 6 rounds, and this will be a 0. So we're bound to, I'm fairly sure we will have another safety car. Yes, indeed, safety car number 3 in this race. Be interesting to know what happened. I would suggest it was a getting very close to the car that he was chasing. It was Juwon Seo in the Indigo Racing Mercedes AMG. Seen the incident, but you'd have to suggest that Martin Rump was on a charge and has come unstuck. So the third safety car period. Of this race, and it's still the Ferrari 488, number 27 at the front of the race, Liu Yi-Hong Lee. That affords an opportunity for Dennis Lind to close in that number 19 Lamborghini Huracan, which he would have been doing anyhow because his tail was up and he was able to close in at will. And it's also an opportunity for Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the second of the FFF Racing Lamborghinis to augment his third place in the run. But it's the car behind that I really fancy in the closing stage of the race. Had a fantastic charge in the closing laps of the second race in Thailand a few weeks ago. That is Edoardo Liberati. He picked up a non-score yesterday. Liberati and his teammate Florian Strauss, but they're on the move up into fourth place in the run of cars. Anxious, this will be a short safety car period. He'll be able to make an attack, but he wants as many racing laps as possible to see if he can get that KCMG Nissan up onto a podium position. Certainly managed to do so. Literally, I think it was the final lap of the second race at Chang International not so long ago. Suddenly really thoroughly in the mix. Just want to point out that started down in 15th place on the grid, the inside of row 8. It's now running 4th. It's still the pole starting car on pole, if you would like, at the front of the field. Nick Foster, very, very good opening stint. Twice he was pegged back by safety cars coming out and annulling the advantage that he'd built up. But still at the front of the race. Dennis Lind will have other ideas though, would hope to be faster, desperate to take that first win. Doesn't matter that he comes with 15 seconds extra for his first pit stop at the following race meeting at Fuji. It's about scoring race wins. 2 second places, no wins yet this year. Certainly Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrick will be very, very excited about the possibility of the first win of the 2018 campaign for them. So there's the field. Dipping exit of Spoon. A lot of them run wide over the curves on the outside, went at full racing speed, but it's this stretch here, the kink straight, that goes up to the much bigger kink at 130 yard. They want to have as much speed as possible that they can carry onto the straight so they can magnify that, hit their top speed sooner, and get to the far end of the straight as quickly as possible. So let's run down the order. It's Yi at the front of the race in the 27 Ferrari. Dennis Lind in a Lamborghini Huracan 2-3 format, that's 19 ahead of 63, in second and third positions Edoardo Liberati in the 23 Nissan GTR Nismo. In fourth place Marcus Pommer and Alexander Matchell. Matchell slipped down almost unnoticed in that period. The AM driver fought hard to keep Dennis Lind behind him, lost out, that was second place gone. He's now back into 6th place overall. So Pommer 5th for Group M Mercedes and Matchell, his teammate, in 6th. And Shea Davis yesterday was second. He's up to 7th. It's a good little run there. Watch out for him. He may yet have something to say about some of the top scoring positions in the remainder of this race. That second place yesterday, a real fillip for Shea Davis and his teammate Sandy Stuvik. Another combination that's made quite a rise. Mitch Gilbert started the race in the 86 Audi Racing Team Audi. He's handed over to Aditya Patel, and there's Aditya up in 8th place overall. So a crew that were really going well last year, haven't gone so well this year, are really starting to work their way up the order. Juwon Seo really had featured very well indeed for Indigo Racing. He is now in 9th place, and Anthony Liu in the now remaining car from Absolute Racing is in 10th place. That's number 37. The Yamano brothers just had a little sight of their Team EBI Porsche, one of the additions for this weekend, and hopefully we will have them again at the Fuji Speedway, the second part of our Japanese doubleheader. That's in 3 weekends' time. And it's interesting hearing from the drivers and speaking from the drivers, getting used to the new Pirelli tyre. It's all about track time, and they're loving the challenge. And when a team suddenly decides it's found what they think is the sweet spot, you can see their frowns turning to smiles, and hopefully thoughts of podium finishes as a potential come to mind. But we are going to have The safety car in at the end of this lap. 9 minutes remaining to the end of this 1 hour race. So precious little racing time for those who feel they've got the speed but not position. They've got to make their move, and you can almost sense Eduardo Liberati. Look at that 23. It's the Nissan on the right-hand side of the shot. GTR Nismo. Coiled like a spring, and equally Dennis Lint getting closer and closer and closer to the tail of the race-leading Ferrari. Leo Yihong Li at the wheel, but Dennis Lint showed yesterday he is no stranger to making bold moves, perfectly prepared to jump as soon as he possibly can. So for Leo Yihong Li, nervous moments, depends on his confidence level, but Dennis Lint has shown he can do it. He's in the number 19 Lamborghini that's tucked in behind. Second of the Hurricanes in that row is 63 Hiroshi Hamaguchi, also dreaming of a podium finish. But in Lint's head, he's had podium finishes. He wants a race win. Hamaguchi and his teammate Mapelli did actually get a podium finish. That was for third place in the second of the 2 races at Sepang, but that's a while ago. He fancies doing it all over again. And yet again, I want to point out that the prestige you get from getting a podium at Suzuka is just that little bit extra, something all the drivers want. All the drivers know one thing. They know that the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. And a little investigation is now underway. Contact for car number 3, that's Martin Rump, off at the side of the circuit, we saw him there. And Ju-Won Seo is running in 9th place. That was the battle that was clearly happening. It ended up with the Audi off the circuit. I can't tell you what the decision will be. I didn't see the contact, and I'm not a race steward. So the safety car in. We're going to have 7 and a bit minutes remaining in this race. 7 minutes, we hope. We'll have no further safety cars. We'll have lovely clean racing, but where is our race leader? Suddenly Dennis Lint into the lead of the race, and Lee has dropped back. Is he in the middle of the pack, or has he gone into the pit lane? Anyhow, he's out of the race, and suddenly it's all changed. Liberati was trying to challenge for 3rd. He's moved up into 2nd. Hiroshi Hamaguchi's lost 2 positions, but Dennis Lint didn't even have to make the overtaking manoeuvre. So what happened there? Oh, a little bit of a slip up into the chicane, but it's Lint from Liberati. Sort of drive-through penalty or something going on. The safety car's trying to get out of the way, but the 27 Ferrari into the pits and out at the very back of the field. So I'll hopefully find out what happened there. But what's clear to see is that Dennis Lint, who was clearly planning to take the restart, dream up his move, has just absolutely nailed it. He's didn't have to take the lead. He's already been given the lead. Now he's leading from Liberati and pulling clear. Liberati has got Matchell, I think, up into 3rd place, or was it Pommer? We'll check in a second, but it's getting harder because the gap is going out and out. It was Pommer up into 3rd position. So suddenly Dennis Lint hasn't been a winner yet this year. He's had those 2 second places. He's got a comfortable margin as he pulls away. 6 minutes left on the clock. So it's Lamborghini from Nissan, from Mercedes, 3 different makes in the top 3, but we need to improve on that. We had 6 different manufacturers in the top 6 positions yesterday afternoon. Right now, these black and green FFF Racing Team Lamborghini Hurricanes have been right on it all weekend. They seem to be good for the circuit, good on the tyres, and all totally under control now for Dennis Lint. Didn't have to make that attacking move. It was given to him with the 27 Ferrari going into the pits. So down with Mitch Gilbert.
Car 86. Now, Mitch, you guys started down the grid and you've made it up. What a recovery. Tell us what is going on.
Yeah, to be honest, we don't really know. You know, we had a shocker qualifying. 20th is the furthest we've ever been back in Blancpain. So, you know, now I think this is up to 7th. Everyone's just kind of been dropping off. We've been doing our thing, and here we are.
Has it been an advantage with the safety car out?
I think we missed a lot of the drama at the start. We missed a lot of the drama, and then with the safety car, honestly, we've just been lucky. There's not been a lot of skill involved in it.
Okay. Well, is it a case of cruise and collect right now?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Dietrich's actually doing a good job. Maybe he can make a couple more places. Maybe we can be in the top 5. 20th, I think that's pretty impressive.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mitch. Good luck.
Now, how often do you hear a driver admit that they've enjoyed a little bit of luck? Very good of Mitch Gilbert to do so, but Aditya Patel, his teammate, in 7th place at the moment, right on the tail of Alexander Matchell's Mercedes. I sense they could rise. Another person who's about to rise, I think, is Shea Davis. It could be
if he can get past Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the 63 Lamborghini, it'll be 4 manufacturers in the top 4 positions. I said they had to improve from 3 in the top 3. Looks as that could happen, but it doesn't look as though anybody is going to be able to do anything about Dennis Lind, stroking it clear in the lead of the race. 1.8 seconds clear at the start of this lap from Edoardo Liberati. I fancied Liberati to get on the podium, but at this stage I don't fancy him to be able to overhaul the race leader. There's 27, the Erstwhile race leader, just picking his way up through the GT4 runners. What a mystery as to why he went into the pits. We saw him coming out, but all opportunity blown. So Nick Foster, we heard from him during the race, will be super frustrated. Haul back, his advantage taken down to nothing a couple of times by safety cars. We had the safety car period, it all seemed under control. But then 27 Ferrari dived into the pits, putting this car, the 19 Lamborghini, into the lead of the race. Second place, now Edoardo Liberati in the background, waiting. There's the Mercedes of Marcus Pommer. Then comes Hamaguchi in the second of the FFF Racing Lamborghinis. And then behind, Shea Davis trying to get his number 911 Porsche up into 4th place. The numbers on the clock are going to get smaller and smaller, which is great news for Dennis Lind and for his teammate Martin Kodrich, watching from the pit garage. What looked as though it was going towards a victory suddenly became an almost cast iron one. 2.1 seconds clear, so stretching his advantage over Edoardo Liberati. Be a best finish for the KCMG Nissan crew. They had that third in the second race in Thailand, but second place here, at one position better. And not under any particular challenge from behind, because Marcus Pommer not close enough to make a move. So there you have, under 4 seconds covering the top 3. Hamaguchi still just ahead of Shea Davis. Alexander Matchell hanging on to 6th place. But Hamaguchi will take the Pro-Am honours by the looks of things in the 63 Lamborghini. Not this one, that's the race leader, but just a little curve or so behind the barriers away from the race leader in 4th place. Hamaguchi heading for Pro-Am honours. At the moment, the AM honours are in the hands of the number 8 Ferrari crew. New crew this weekend, and it's Hideki Nagai, showing with Shinji Takai, who's leading the AM class. So look out to see if he can haul that all the way to the finish. The ARN Racing Ferrari team will be very happy if he can do so. It'll be the first time that the number 45 KCMG Audi will not take victory in the AM class. 5 race wins, 5 class wins. That's the first 5 races, but we have a change. In fact, many things here at Suzuka have been all about change. That teams that haven't featured at the front end really starting to come sweet, which is fantastic at this midpoint in the championship. GT4, we've now got Otsuka in the lead. We've just seen his car ahead of Ringo Chong, 3.5 seconds clear, so this deficit from the success penalty during the pit stop has been overcome and done very well indeed. Helped, no doubt, by the safety car bunching the field up for him. This is the driver leading the race, Dennis Lind, who really hasn't needed any advantage. His teammate Martin Kodrich started from 5th. They had an extra 5 seconds at a standstill, but their pit stop, but their sheer pace has shown exactly how useful that can be. A pro lineup. 2.1 seconds clear of Edoardo Liberati. Doesn't have to push too hard now. Keep it clean. No traffic up ahead. That's the advantage of the laps shortly after a safety car period. In the groove. This, the final lap of the second of 2 races here at the Suzuka circuit. Very different mix of cars. Dennis Lind led the first half yesterday after a really bold attack from the outside off the front row. Got ahead of Martin Rump's Audi, the car that went on to win the race, but unfortunately they had success penalties, stop time, 10 seconds extra at their pit stop. That brought them out back into 3rd, and they couldn't advance from there. But today they're putting the wrongs right. And as the clock ticks to the top of the hour, 1 hour of racing completed. This, as we can see, is the final lap of the race, and it's looking very handy indeed for the FFF Racing team. And what a consistent run of excellence. No wonder they're leading the championship. Here are their results so far. Martin Kodrich and Dennis Lind, 2nd, 6th, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, and now the smallest digit, number 1, coming their way. Sean Thom just had a quick flash of the Audi racer drive-through penalty for his teammates Alex Young, and also he's got himself up into the top 10, going very well. All eyes, of course, on the race leader, but there's some fearsome battling in about 8th, 9th and 10th positions. I think those orders could change. Up front, the top 3 are not going to change. It's Dennis Lind, Edoardo Liberati, Marcus Pommer, Lamborghini, that is, Nissan, Mercedes, and the next car in line should still be Hamaguchi, so a second Lamborghini in this run, but overall it's looking as though any second now, with the penultimate corner negotiated for the number 19 Lamborghini, it's their win. 23 Nissan will come through into second place, but for Martin Kodrich, the driver crossing the start-finish line, taking the checkered flag, Dennis Lind, just what a result for them. Solid weekend. Excellence throughout, and for FFF Racing Team, can't get all the Fs in a line. At last, this win that they've been pushing for so hard, racing and chasing right down to the back, and looks as though we're just going to have Sean Thong getting up to 9th place, nearly got past Anthony Liu as well, but in a great drive from Reinhold Renger's new teammate, Ryohiro Otsuka, raced here last year in the support program in Formula 3, and here he is. He's worked his way up past the Team iRace win Mercedes, which has got company from behind, so Frank Yu right on the tail of Ringo Yong, but out front in class with that late charge. We have Ryo Otsuka, so the 666 Mercedes wins again. It's vanquished the best challenges of the BMWs today, the BMWs that finished 1st and 3rd in class yesterday, and eventually has made it look remarkably easy. But watch this driver, Ryo Otsuka, definitely one who's going to go on and achieve a lot. Whether he decides to stay in GT racing, we will see, but he's certainly impressed a lot of people up and down the paddock. So what a race of ebb and flow, of change from front to back, in some ways back all around again. But what I can tell you, overall victor Dennis Lind at the front of the field in his Lamborghini have had Edoardo Liberati's Nissan and Marcus Pommer's Mercedes. There's Pommer's car, 999 GT3 Pro-Am class winners. In 4th place overall, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli. 5th place for the 911 Porsche, showing that 2 races running. Yesterday they came 2nd and today 5th. They really are in the hunt. And just to confirm, the GT3 Pro-Am victory to Hamaguchi and Mappelli, the GT3 Am victory to Nagai in the ARN Racing Ferrari. So for the first time this season, the AMG Audi loses out and doesn't take a class victory in the AM class. So victory to the Ferrari in the AM class. There's another change thrown into the mix for you. Slowly bring it home, and it was for drivers out there a real case of just keeping things clean, keeping calm during the safety car periods and maximising their restarts. And Ryo Otsuka managed to work his way ahead a couple of his rivals and show his class. So Reinhold Renger and the Group M Racing Team will be very pleased with him indeed. But for Dennis Lind, who's coming home slowly, getting a bit of air into his car. It's a hot, humid day, but it's all the sweeter for him. But you have to feel for what happened to the number 27 Ferrari crew, leading the race, everything under control. Nick Foster controlled it through the start of the race from pole position. Twice his lead was pegged back. Came in during one of the safety car periods, handed over to Leo Yi-Hong Lee. Everything seemed to be under control, waiting for the 3rd safety car period to come to an end. And suddenly, instead of a red Ferrari coming down the sloping start-finish straight to anticipate the restart and control the race from there, it was Dennis Lind, who was going to be hunting him down anyway, but suddenly he didn't have to do the hunting. Victory was his. You can see the happiness, the window open. He's not just cooling his hand, he's waving to the marshals, anybody who waved back at him, because for Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrich, those second places were great, but wins are far better, and that really has put the championship leaders even further ahead. It was only a 9-point lead before the race, but an extra 7-point advantage gained this afternoon. Well, in fact, it's only just about to be the afternoon at Suzuka, has really put them in a very good situation at the halfway point of the championship. We've reached that. 3 rounds, 6 races completed. Next set of races at Fuji in 3 weekends' time. But they have their tails high, as does the 666 Mercedes, because equally leading the GT4 class is the driver who's done all the races, Reinhold Renger, had various teammates, but consistent scoring, consistent results, success spells a very good hope for championship victory. But as we've seen, we saw the number 3 Audi going off when trying to hunt down some good points. Things can happen, and the worst thing you can have if you're chasing a title is a 0 against your name and no score. In a championship as competitive as this, you have to score at every round. But for the FFF racing team by ACM, oh yes indeed, Marco Mappelli, sorry, that's the 19 car, that's Martin Kodrich coming out. They've also taken victory in the GT Pro-Am class, but here comes Dennis Lind out, but cannot get him out fast enough. So Martin Kodrich absolutely delighted, along with the rest of the team. They've been hunting that one down and really delivered very well indeed here. And you get the relief as well as the sheer excitement, but they can't wait to do the winners interview. That's clear, but huge emotion down there for the FFF racing team, for Lamborghini as well, putting their marker as this championship becomes ever more competitive. Wow, look at the media scrum down there. A lot of team members as well trying to get the photos. We'll try and get in and get the interviews as soon as we can. For Dennis Lind, he's too busy hugging people to start undoing his helmet, but what a lot of satisfaction for them. Third place yesterday afternoon, could have been a win, but they had that success problem where they had 10 seconds extra in the pit stops. That cost them the lead of the race. They fought back very, very hard indeed. So third place yesterday, little more success penalty, an extra 5 seconds in the pit stops, but the team, the drivers in particular, really, really delivered. So we're looking forward to going down to Parc Fermé to hear from Dennis Lind, who just brought the number 19 Lamborghini home, and the driver who kicked off, Martin Kodrich, with Claire.
Here with the GT3 winners, Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrich. Amazing win, guys. Phenomenal. I can see it on your faces. Today, it's been a real shake-up with all the safety cars out. Tell us what is going through your head this moment now that you're out of the car.
I don't know, a lot. We've been there or thereabouts all season. Yeah, it's just everything coming up to a very, very thin point, helping us to get the win with the safety cars, but I thought we were the quickest car out there for sure. Martin did an amazing job. He held on to what he should, followed the strategy perfectly, so for me everything couldn't be better.
Fantastic. And for yourself, I can see you taking a deep breath right there. Tell me, really, the handover, did it go as perfect as it could?
Yeah, I mean, the first stint really went well from the start. I mean, had a mega start, kept it all clean, had a really good pace to keep with the guys in front. Safety car point, you know, we all get it together, but he ended up perfect. The strategy was good. I handed the car over to Dennis. He did an amazing job. And yeah, this is what we worked for the whole season, and we were so close every single race. And yeah, I just want to thank all of our guys. And of course, Dennis. Yeah, I think we are really dream work, and I love it.
Fantastic. Best couple out there right now. Well, I suppose the partying will be going late into the night. Congratulations, guys.
And on the plane.
And on the plane.
That's what we like to hear. Well done, Claire. But for Martin Kodrich and for Dennis Lind, it was picture perfect. They made light of their extra time in a pit stop, which they had to serve for success for third place yesterday. But just look at the combined excellence, and at the end, the balance and poise, but the sheer amount of attack from Dennis Lind in particular. Handed a bit of a gift when the 27 Ferrari pulled off. But let's hear from the team that finished in second place overall. Brought home Liberati at the end, kicked off by Florian Strauss.
Now we've got Strauss and Liberati in the Nissan Nismo. Guys, what a fantastic time here in P2. Tell us what is going through your heads right now. Any expectations of being on the podium today?
Yeah, it's quite a surprise from P15, sorry. Yeah, but you know, since qualifying at our cars, normally quite strong. We had some issues in qualifying, that's why we both were starting a little bit further in the back. But yeah, we're hoping to stay with the lead group and then have some luck during the start, which my start went pretty well, but unfortunately I had to avoid the Audi and go into the grass, which cost me a few positions. But yeah, as soon as Ede was in the car, he did an outstanding job and yeah, bring the car, I hope, in second place.
And what about yourself?
Thanks, Florian. He did a great start. It's not easy to start from P15. Recovered quite a lot of position. Then for sure the safety car helped us. I was right behind the group. I was like P7, P8 when I went in. I had new tires as well. The car was fantastic. We fixed it from yesterday. I did some good overtakes, some nice battles with the other guys. I'm really happy for the team, for KCMG, for Nismo, to reach the second podium of our season.
Fantastic. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
What great work from the crew there. They really had to work hard. And if you looked at the lap chart at the end of the first lap, they were way down the order. But perseverance and just sheer doggedness and not making a mistake was clear to their advancement. Absolutely key to that. But some stumbled, including the number 7 car. That went off very early in the race. Caught out on the opening lap. That triggered one of the 3 safety car periods. But it was about keeping out of trouble for a lot of the runners. But also, if you started way down the grid, you tend to end up in more incidents. And the fact that we had quite a few cars coming up the order shows that they managed to keep clear of those problems that can often beset a car that's not starting at the front end of the grid. Just one more moment to comment on the car that did start from the front of the grid. We ended up with number 27 car finishing down in 17th place. Still haven't worked out what went wrong, but the driver for whom this season has generally gone very right indeed, Reinhold Renger, another victory in GT4, shared this time with Ryuichiro Otsuka. Down with Claire.
Hi there, we are with the GT4 class winner, Reinhold Renger. Reinhold, could have been anything less.
Thank you very much. It was an awesome race, very crazy to be honest. With all of the safety cars, the start was really turbulent, and so I'm happy that we managed it in the end, to be honest.
So I guess the safety car really worked to your advantage.
Yeah, we was a little bit, maybe one lap too early into the pit for the driver change. So we catch the sneak, and we lost a lot of time, and we came out at 5th position. So the safety car in the end helped us really a lot to close up again, and in the end winning the race. That was, I guess, the key.
Fantastic. Back on the top step. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a season Reinhold Renger is having. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a season full of highlights. But talking of highlights, let's take a look back at what went on in the race from start through to finish. It's still busy down in Parc Ferme. We'll come to the highlights very shortly. Fans going in to take a look at the podium ceremonies because there are a lot of very happy faces. A lot of people who went out into this race thinking they'd try and aim for points. They've come away with a whole lot better. But for several, it is a whole lot worse. And unfortunately for the number 7 Audi crew, it wasn't a dream run for them. So the highlights, let's take a look. It was packed out on the grid. Conditions very hot and humid. The number 3 car starting, yesterday's winners starting down in 12th. Not looking for great glory unless it came to them. Some of the new Lamborghini teams race from Japan joining us this weekend and again next time out. But it was Ferraris on the front row. Nick Foster on the left of your screen. Tim Slade on the right. Completely on the right. Alexander Imperatori ended up on the grass as he tried to overtake Raffaele Marcello and went backwards. Great start from Sandy Stubik. Saw his Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche gaining ground up the middle, but the driver gaining the most ground was Nick Foster in the lead of the race. Got in front of Tim Slade at the start, as you saw, but the way with which he stroked clear around the opening the opening lap was phenomenal. But unfortunately for him, all that advantage was taken away from him because the number 7 Audi was stuck in the gravel. That brought out the safety car. And after that, the racing was very, very serious indeed, very fearsome in the GT4 class because the number 72 Mercedes really starting to make its presence felt on yesterday's class winner. But then talking about making a presence felt, there was Tim Slade, ran out of road, clipped the back of the number 12 Clearwater Racing McLaren at the chicane. That's running the GT4 class, was at the back of the field, and then they were both out of the field. Second safety car period while all that debris was cleared off the circuit. And then it was time for people to dive in to make their pit stops. Pit window opened just during that second safety car period. And that was the moment in which Reinhold Renger handed over to Ryo Otsuka. Super busy, hard to line the cars up straight. But then after the pit stops, it was the turn of Leo Yihong Lee in the 27 Ferrari, having taken it over from Nick Foster. Another driver really started to make a charge. It was a 72 car with Gilles Vanelay and Ringo Chong really enjoying their action in the class as they worked their way to the front of GT4. They were not to stay there. And a sneaky little spin from the 888 Mercedes. That is why Alexander Matschel suddenly lost 3 positions. He was third, fell down to 6th. Luckily didn't clatter those behind. They said thank you very much as they moved past. The driver wasn't saying thank you very much. It's the driver at number 17 who was given a spin at the same corner, but not of his own making. Got underway again. That is still under investigation at the end of the race. And another matter under investigation is the contact between number 3, as Martin Rump tried to make his way up the order. He hit the back, he had contact with Juwon Seo's Indigo Racing Mercedes, but where he was trying to grab some more points as he worked his way up the field, he ended up with none. And then we had the restart. After that, suddenly we had the car that was supposed to take the restart in the lead of the race diving into the pits. That put Dennis Lind, who was hoping to hunt him down. So Leo Yihong Lee had to come in, run through the pits, and it was a clear run to the end of the race for Dennis Lind. 2 second places so far this year with Martin Kodrich, and suddenly he wasn't having to hunt down victory, it was on a plate for the Dane, and he really proved he was a great Dane. Balanced it all the way to the finish. Eduardo Liberati was giving chase, but the 666 Mercedes worked its way up into the lead of the GT4 class, and great pace from Ryoichiro Otsuka stretched it home, well clear in the end from the best of the race. But then the checkered flag taken by the 19 Lamborghini Huracan, so the FFF Racing team enjoying life to the full up on the pit wall. It's been their weekend. A 3rd place yesterday and victory today. It's been wonderful at Suzuka. So the podium ceremony begins. The trumpet fanfare sounds out at the Suzuka circuit, and the very elegant podium awaits its recipients. 4 podium celebrations to come, starting with the overall honours for the top 3 finishers.
We'll start this ceremony with the overall winners. We welcome with applause, in 3rd position, Marcus Palmer, Patrick Niederhauser in 999.
So as you can hear, Marcus Palmer and Patrick Niederhauser, we just saw in the replays how they gained a position when the sister car went for a spin, looped around at the hairpin. But Florian Strauss and Eduardo Liberati, they gained lots of positions and took them very greatly indeed. Not quite the pace, though, in the end to catch up with Dennis Lind, who brought it home, building on the work of Martin Kodrich. And that first win for them in the 2018 campaign is now chalked up. It's on the board.
Shizu, the Director Facility General Manager of Suzuki Circuit, to award the trophies.
And presenting the trophies is Hiroyuki Shiotsu, General Manager of the Suzuka Circuit. And when you have new faces on the podium, they really do gain big smiles. Liberati and Strauss, they were on the podium with a great 3rd place in Thailand. 2nd place is better still. And the top pair, they were leading the championship by 9 points before the race. They've extended their championship lead. 2 seconds and a 3rd, but now the win, the one they've been hunting down.
And now
look at the delight
Benjamin
on their faces.
Series Director SRO, to award the checks.
And of course, the big checks. $2,500 for 3rd, $5,000 for 2nd, and $10,000 presented by the series director,
All
Benjamin
now for a photo.
Franasevici.
And now it's champagne time!
So champagne is going to flow not just on the podium, but you feel FFF Racing team will have really quite a party. As Martin Kodrich said, it won't just extend tonight, it'll be on the plane home as well. We'll be back in Japan in 2.5 weeks' time to start off round 4 of the Blancpain GT Series Asia at the Fuji Speedway. Very, very different venue to here, but with the passionate Japanese fans, we can't wait to come back to Japan and start it all over again. Next up will be the Pro-Am podium. A lot of celebration, loud music blaring out over the pit lane. It's a real sense of occasion here. Now it's time for the Pro-Am podium.
And now we have the GT3 Pro-Am ceremony. We welcome with applause, in 3rd position, Anthony Liu and Josh Burden, car number 37.
Anthony Liu and Josh Burden hoped for good things yesterday, ended up with a bent
In
nose
2nd
on their Audi
position,
after
car
contact.
888, Alexander Matschel and Rafael
Much
Marcello.
better today. Raffaele Marcello and Alexander Matchell coming out. Alexander had that little spin, but he's still smiling. Second place in cars. It could have been first. But Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli, second class win of their season. And fourth place overall.
Now
exactly where they finished to achieve their first class win.
CEO Dixel to award the trophies.
Suzuka Ida presenting the trophies, Chief Executive Officer of Dixel. And now the winners' trophies from Masahiko Ida to two very happy recipients indeed. Hiroshi Hamaguchi.
Benjamin
Where do you want your best results to be? On home ground.
To award the Blancpain clock.
And as it's Pro-Am, the Am driver of the winning car gets the Blancpain clock. So Benjamin Franasovici up to hand that over, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi very happy with that indeed.
All together now for a photo. And it's champagne time!
So champagne time for the GT3 Pro-Am finishers. And Anthony Liu made himself very scarce very quickly, leaving Josh Burton on the right-hand side of the podium for Phoenix Racing. But all about getting the points on the board. But for FFF Racing Team, victory overall with Dennis Lint and Martin Kodrich, and victory in the Pro-Am class. So a really, really strong weekend for them here at Suzuka.
Now we have the GT3 AM ceremony. We welcome with applause in third position in car number 51,
GT3 AM.
William Ben Porter.
Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter coming up
Position in car number 45,
in third place, the Australian duo in their Lamborghini.
And Takuya Shirasaka.
And for the first time this season, it's not victory, it's second place. The run had to come to an end, the KTM Audi crew. But for ARN Racing, a new crew this weekend. They weren't on top form yesterday, but they've come stronger and stronger. And victory for
the executive director
the ARN Racing crew, Shinji Takai and Hideki Nagai. So they'll be very pleased. Again, Japanese success on home ground makes it all the sweeter for the pairing. The regular drivers in the 8 Ferrari not here this weekend. And so they've stepped up to the breach and done it very well indeed. Just to reiterate, the ARN Racing Ferrari taking victory, Shinji Takai and Hideki Nagai. And for the crew that ended up in second for the first time this year, Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka, well, 5 wins in a row, and then now the second place. In terms of championship positions, they are way clear in the AM class. And look, they're happy on home ground. They've been beaten by a fellow Japanese crew, but it's about accruing as many points as you can. They seem to be the experts at that. Good to see the level of camaraderie. Well, that's what you'd expect, particularly in the AM class. Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter on the right of the podium. A dab of the bottle. What did you do before your wedding? Well, I rode around Suzuka in a Honda NSX. Of course, the Honda NSX, a lot of its development here with Ayrton Senna at the wheel before that Honda road car was released to rave reviews around the world. So lovely to have that tie-up. That just leaves the GT4 podium.
We welcome with applause in third position, Frank Hugh and Jean-Marc Merlin.
So they changed cars this weekend from Porsche to Mercedes, and Frank Hugh and Jean-Marc Merlin, last year's GT4 champions. Very happy with life, it's worked well for them. They drove well this weekend. But then Ringo Chon and Gilles Vanderlei, again a really solid weekend for them. The man who has so many wins. Reinhold Renger comes out second, but what a handy new teammate he's got in the form of Ryuichiro Otsuka. We're staggering up to the left-hand side of the podium.
Award the trophies.
Trophies being presented by Ken Gikita, who's the motorsport manager for Pirelli tyres. Ryoichiro Suzuka doesn't know where to look next or how often to punch the air. Look at the delight he has in that result. It's almost starting to direct the podium ceremonies. Out come the checks from Benjamin Franisovici, series director from SRO, who's done so much to build the GT4 element along with the GT3s that make this championship such a special place to come racing. The Blancpain GT Series Asia grows and grows.
And right now we have champagne time!
And so round 4 of the podiums, round 4 in terms of firing the champagne commences. The joy unbounded, particularly for Ryoichiro Otsuka, as the bride arrives back into the pit lane in the background of the shot there after her lap in the Honda NSX.